I want to move on to new questions to have Shava. I was yesterday at a event where Claudia Rankin and Marlon James were, and it was for teachers. And it was interesting because I was talking to teachers about what happened in various high schools in Minneapolis after the decision of Darren Wilson, where he was not indicted. And in some schools, they had conversations. In some schools, they were actually told not to have conversations. In some schools, the students just sat in the hall. There were no conversations. In one school, there were conversations, but the teacher said that a student came into her class next and was so mad with the way the teacher held the conversation about the issues coming out of Ferguson that the kid was just fuming. So I guess, Shava, I want to know, from your perspective, both what can be done to bring more young people into the arts and into activism, and then, and this is a really large question, where, what is your perception of where young people are now about these issues of race?
Well, first of all, I'd say we don't really need to bring young people into the arts.
Mm-hmm.
Young people are already in the arts. Young people are making art. You walk into a junior high classroom and you ask the kids how many of you guys write every day or draw something or paint or whatever, ask them how many of them do some sort of art form. I bet you that at least 90% of that class will have their hand up. The problem is bringing them a place or a space where they can do their art and feel safe and comfortable. A place where they know that they can share it and they'll get real critical feedback. And it's not just feedback oh yeah, I support you and that's good, but real feedback that's going to help them grow and develop as artists. Because touching on what I was going to say in the last question is we need to change the way we look at young people. We need to stop using young people as props in spaces. We need to stop using young people as these people that they're sitting here, this is their art, aren't they so special? Okay, now you guys can go in the corner, your opinion doesn't really matter, When we have conversations about race and about just anything in activism and social justice work, I can promise you that the young people, they have opinions, and their opinions aren't just, I think it's bad. They're which is a lot of times what I feel like adults often are expecting to hear from a young person, or and a lot of times there are a lot of and it's just there's a lot of low expectations of cognitive thinking skills and critical thinking skills, when really what it is a lack of vocabulary or a lack of access or a lack of adults who they feel will actually listen to them when they speak, or a lack of peers who they feel they can go to who will bond with them or who will connect with them on this, or a lack of peers who they can look up to as artists. Because I feel peer education is a huge format. That's how I got involved in a lot of the work I do, is because other people who were my age were teaching me what I was doing. I'm just allowing young people into into the spaces where they're making the decisions about what they're going to be talking about, whether or not they're going to have these conversations, whether or not who's going to be facilitating the conversations. Anybody else can pick up on this too, because I'm just getting a lot of feelings right now.
Well, go with those feelings. Speak your feelings.
Just because.
Go with it.
Because I guess for me is the first time I ever slammed, I was 15 years old. And I walked into the slam and it was an 18+ show, and I lied to everyone and told them I was 18. And then after everyone kind of figured out that I definitely wasn't 18, it turned from this sort of sense of oh wow, you're actually a credible artist, to oh, look at the baby, she's so cute on stage. And we can't look at young people like that. Young people aren't babies, they're not cute, they're not children. Young people are the future, literally. Young people have disposable income. they have access, they have free time. Young people literally are what is going to cause this movement to happen, because there is nothing to lose. There is literally nothing for these young people to lose right now, but because people don't give them trust or power, they don't have a chance to not lose it and go after what really needs to happen.
Can I just jump in? So some of the young people today, just to like doubling back to the question and really like thinking about the verdict and young people's role in the movement and in expression and etc. Unguided, uninstructed. Some of the young people who were in this building today were also part of individual movements where there were school walkouts. No indictment, well, we ain't working. No indictment, we can't talk about it, well, we ain't working. No indictment, we can't talk about it, we ain't working, and we leaving. And nobody told them to do that. They called and asked for support. Some of them called and like, it's cool, you good, come to the march, you good. You know what I mean? But it was all their own thinking. So I love that you're saying, quit underestimating us. Because we should not underestimate folks. They are present and privy to these conversations just like we are, and capable of making decisions and like self-regulating and organizing and etc. And specifically here, I think it's trippy, man, because so many, even today, to hear so many young people say that, whatever, about bouncing and like leaving and being, oh, I want to go somewhere else and be great. It's an interesting thing here with leadership in terms of community organizing and arts leadership in the Twin Cities. Like David Mura is moderating this panel. There's some really great folks in this room, and some of the skills that these young people have, that there's like, we model that stuff here. They're seeing it, they're picking it up, and quick, like rapid. It's fast. So underestimating them, I think, is one of the things that would be the detriment of us if we don't look really quick and see what happens. And they're charged up. I think, seeing so many schools have walkouts and so many student bodies show up at the rallies. The rally on Lake in Hiawatha, there were several schools that showed up. Like we were at a school and had to, they locked themselves inside of their cafeteria on a day we were supposed to come do this big spoken word showcase thing, right? And we're like, can we talk to y'all? Like, will you guys unlock the door and let us come in and like just chop it up? And they're like, yeah. So we did the thing, and then they're like, okay. And now we appreciate you guys coming. We're gonna connect with you guys, so on and so forth. And we're gonna leave the school now and go to the rally, right? So like that, and we're like, okay, cool, we're coming too, And then other students are like, we meet y'all at the rally, you know what I mean? So like, yo, man, they also really feel about these issues and need an opportunity to speak about it, and are creating their own spaces too. So like, how do we support? And when we talk about exceptionalism and there only being space for one, how do we actively start funneling and putting resources into spaces that are providing opportunities? How do we avoid young people having their hearts broken because they're not the exceptional one? We need to do that.
Yo, and like on the note of support, like that's so important, because like as powerful and like intellectual and like capable as young people are, the system doesn't see us that way. And for that reason, we need support from adults, because the system doesn't see us as powerful as much as like people might see us. So like the fact that people are calling up Tish and like, yo, want to help? And Tish is like, yeah, like that is a beautiful thing that Tish is doing for young people. She allows young people to take control. Also, I don't know, like just like support. Yeah.